Hi, I'm Josh Block, host of Uncover Escaping Nexium from CBC Podcasts. I pull back the curtain on the secretive self-help group that experts call a cult and follow one woman's harrowing journey to get out. The podcast was featured in Rolling Stone magazine and named one of the best podcasts of 2018 in The Atlantic. Listen to Uncover Escaping Nexium on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is a CBC podcast.
This is Unreserved on CBC Radio 1. I'm Phelan Johnson. I don't know about you, but my family loves this time of year. For us, it's really all about the food. We gather at my grandma's house on Six Nations for a potluck-style Christmas Eve dinner. And every year, we have seafood. Uncle Dave brings salmon drenched in maple syrup, my dad makes seafood chowder, my cousin Alan brings oysters, and whoever is holding the venison pepperoni from this past year's hunt, fingers crossed, brings a lot, because it disappears quickly. We drink way too much tea, eat way too much food, and make way too much fun of each other. That is our tradition, and I'm going to miss it this year. I guess we'll just have to share a cup of tea and make fun of each other over Zoom, while I eat a shrimp ring. Alone. Today on the show, how Indigenous folks are celebrating family traditions and making meaningful connections in all kinds of innovative ways.
Okay, step right up to Emily's Wicked Nursing Home Carnival. Rockstar, what game would you like to play first? We've got milk bottle toss and ring toss.
Milk bottle toss.
Oh, okay, rocks for toss. You got 3 walls. Oh, good job, Rockstar. Oh!
That's the sound of a carnival at Wikwemikong Nursing Home. Staff at the long-term care facility in Wikwemikong First Nations are finding creative ways to lift the spirits of its elders during the coronavirus pandemic. The nursing home recently went viral online after posting photos of residents deer hunting with Nerf guns. CBC's Gunacio Deer is here to tell us more about the creative ways the staff is keeping spirits up during these challenging times. Welcome to the show, Gunacio.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay, so my first question is Nerf guns.
Yes. So each week, staff at the Wikwemikong Nursing Home strives to have a full calendar of activities for its residents, who are primarily First Nations from Manitoulin Island. One of those recent activities was deer hunting, but not actual deer hunting. Staff set up a mini forest of Christmas trees, dressed up in deer costumes, and gave the residents some Nerf guns. Photos, as you can imagine, went viral on Facebook.
So how did they come up with this idea?
One of the residents said he was experiencing hunting fever, so the staff wanted to come up with a solution. Emily Barnes is the recreation manager at the nursing home. Here she is explaining more about the approach she takes when organizing activities.
He was saying how much he missed actually being an avid hunter every year, and how this time of year was kind of hard because he felt like he was truly missing out on something important. I am all about the person-centered approach, and we got to cater to the individual interests of our residents. The community that we come from, hunting and providing for their families is such an important part of life. So we just try to incorporate everything that was meaningful before they came here. So I racked my brain, and I swear it came to me in the middle of the night. I thought we're going to be decorating for Christmas shortly, so we own about 10 Christmas trees, and I thought, why not set them up? So I headed into town, and I went and I found some deer hats, and we put them on and gave them some Nerf guns.
So what kinds of activities, what other kinds of activities have they done?
In the last few weeks, Emily and her team have held photo shoots for residents. They had a lip sync battle and a carnival. When the first fast food chain, a Tim Hortons, opened on Manitoulin Island in October, the elders were able to join in the festivities too, with a drive-through cart serving coffee and donuts.
It was so important for elders to be a part of it, because when you think, like, what do your grandparents do in the afternoon? A lot of them, they drink coffee. They go to Tim Hortons. They meet up with their friends. And so I didn't want them to miss out on this important milestone that happened on our island.
Hi, welcome to Tim Hortons. How are you doing today, sir?
Just fine.
Good. What can I get you today?
Large coffee.
We teamed up with Tim Hortons, and I was very fortunate. My husband's a carpenter, so he was able to make us the structure. And yeah, we were able to still have them have their Tim Hortons cup of coffee and be a part of the community celebration. So we didn't have to miss out.
So what impact has this approach to recreation had on the residents?
And the nursing home's administrator, Cheryl Ozaibo-Peltier, said these activities have been so important because of the increased measures and restrictions currently in place because of the coronavirus pandemic. Mm-hmm. And residents aren't the only ones enjoying it. Photos and videos of every activity are shared on social media. Cheryl says that these activities received tons of feedback from people across Canada and the United States, some even joining in with their own deer hunting activities.
The biggest thing I take away is other residents are enjoying that activity. We actually shared from, I think it was a home in Ohio. They actually posted a video and they did the activity for their residents there. And I thought, wow, like other homes are enjoying that activity and they look like they're enjoying it just as much as our residents were.
Residents have definitely noticed the attention their home has been receiving too. This was one of the priceless reactions to the viral deer hunting activity.
We're going to be famous.
Well, I don't think I can handle that again.
And today, I actually just saw an Elders Lodge in Akwesasne post photos of their own Nerf gun hunting activity too.
So this story has given me a great idea for maybe a gift for my dad, because he's really been missing hunting. We can do a social distance Nerf gun hunt, and I can put on a deer costume and run around his front lawn while he shoots a Nerf gun at me. I don't know.
I feel like Nerf guns will be a really popular gift this year.
Oh, I think so. I think Nerf guns should start sending packages to nursing homes and long-term care homes. Nerf guns and elder care. It's a good pairing. All right. Thanks so much, Gunacio.
Thanks for having me.
Gunacio Deer is a reporter with CBC Indigenous. If you want to see photos of deer hunting from the Wikwemikong Nursing Home, head to our site, cbc.ca/unreserved. This past year, due to the global pandemic, many people have had to rely on the mail as a way of staying connected with loved ones. And this holiday season is no different. Many people across the country will be relying on mail and shipping to get their cards, gifts, and fruitcakes to friends and family. I know there's been a steady stream of delivery trucks going up and down my street, and to bring some color to those boxes being delivered, Michaels and Purolator teamed up and asked 13 artists from across all provinces and territories to design a shipping box. These boxes all have unique designs and messages. One design picked is a beautiful floral pattern created by Ojibwe Two-Spirit artist Patrick Hunter from Red Lake, Ontario. He joins me from his home in Toronto. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
It's so nice to have you here.
Well, be in my house, but, be on with you.
Yes. So, Patrick, you work in a woodland style. Can you describe what the illustration on your box looks like?
So the inspiration came for my box. I love giving mucklucks and moccasins and, the gloves out that have floral, like Ojibwe floral or Métis floral on them as well. And I just thought it would be cool to kind of ride that out a little bit and put that on a box so that people could give it to other people. Maybe they're not giving moccasins, but, they can give a box with florals on it. That's kind of what it's about. It's just sort of my love of giving florals to people. And just to describe my box a little bit more, they're all individual flowers that I created, and they all are kind of interconnected. And, at this time where we're apart, it's just sort of saying that, each one of us is an individual, but we might be apart right now, but, we're connected through not getting gifts, but, also giving them too.
And so how was your design selected as one of the 13 festive art boxes?
We just sort of had to keep within the theme of winter holidays. Like, obviously not everyone, celebrates Christmas. So they had to be diverse in, not just the people that were selected to do it, but then also, the imagery that was on it. And I didn't want to get super obvious with it and just do a Christmas tree and some presents or, reindeer and stuff. but, take it in another direction and give people, like I said, some floral work. I always think it's such a great thing when a bigger business taps some artists, pays them well, but then also gives them the opportunity to share their work on a bigger scale. And, 13 of us were chosen and got to do that through these boxes this year.
And so how did it feel when your design was selected, knowing that your art would carry gifts across the country?
It always feels great. I've asked them, I was like, how did you hear about me? And then they're like, well, word of mouth, so I guess I'm known in some circles, which Purelator is privy of. And, that's how it happened in this sense. But it was like within 5 minutes, I was sending the email back, like, I'm in, let's do it.
So what was your inspiration behind the design? What did you want it to represent?
The intention behind a lot of my work is to share my culture with people. And here's an opportunity to share with a lot more people than, say I have followers on Instagram or social media. So I think if anything, to have more things with indigeneity on it, whether it be these boxes or, reflected in architecture of cities and stuff like that. I think for the longest time, Indigenous people haven't always had a voice in business per se, at least represented visually. So, as someone who's in business and also an artist, I'd love to kind of marry those two and make sure that message gets out there.
So how do people get these boxes? Where can they find them, Patrick?
So where people find the boxes is just at any Purelator store. They're even going to be available at Michael's, like the art craft store, which I love to go to. And there's actually even a contest too, where you can download a template for a box and kind of design your own, enter it into a contest to win some great Michael's prizes and stuff like that.
And so, people from across the country, they will be getting a gift as a package, and it will be delivered in one of your boxes. It's almost like art inside art, which I think is lovely.
Yeah. You don't even have to wrap it if you don't want, I don't think.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the intent. Yeah.
I was actually thinking about this today because, I was online shopping for my nieces and nephews. And I was like, well, should I get it delivered to my house? Because it won't be wrapped. So this is kind of a great way of,
True.
Sending something that looks, gift giving ready.
Yeah. You have to give it up for Purelator for having this great idea to do it. And I really think that it's going to be impactful for mostly, I hope, kids to just see holy moly, this is how far we've come.
And so do you have any favorite memories of waiting for a gift to arrive in the mail?
Sort of. My grandma is... It's going to sound, I don't mean to throw her under the bus, but she just kind of puts it all into a big sack. And we would get the sack and we're like, I think I got your Christmas sack. And Closa didn't fit. Oh, this must be for my older brother, Brock. But so that was fun for me. Maybe she can evolve and get one of these these boxes. But
yeah, you can give her some boxes and maybe pre-name them, pre-tag them. Well, thank you for talking to us today, Patrick.
Oh, gosh, no problem. It was fun.
Patrick Hunter is Ojibwe from Red Lake First Nation. He is one of the 13 artists chosen to design a limited edition Purelator box for the holidays. If you have an idea for a box design, Purelator and Michaels are running a Design a Box sweepstakes. Entries have to be in by December 31st, and you can find out all the details on Michaels' website.
Hi, I'm Josh Block, host of Uncover Escaping Nexium from CBC Podcasts. I pull back the curtain on the secretive self-help group that experts call a cult and follow one woman's harrowing journey to get out. The podcast was featured in Rolling Stone magazine and named one of the best podcasts of 2018 in The Atlantic. Listen to Uncover Escaping Nexium on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Michelle Shepard, host of Uncover Charmini from CBC Podcasts. In 1999, 15-year-old Charmini Anandavale disappeared on her way to a job that police believed didn't exist. 4 months later, her remains were found in a wooded ravine. I revisit the case that has stayed with me for over 20 years, ever since I first covered it as a cub crime reporter for the Toronto Star. You can find Uncover Charmini on CBC Listen or on your favorite podcast app.
This is Unreserved on CBC Radio 1, Sirius XM 169, and Native Voice 1. I'm Phelan Johnson, bringing you a little holiday cheer on the show this week, because it feels like something we could all use a little more of as we say goodbye to 2020. I think we're all spending more time watching Netflix, Disney Plus, or whatever service you subscribe to. Maybe you've even dipped into some of the holiday flicks on the Hallmark Channel. If you do, keep an eye out for Barbara Patrick. She's originally from Burns Lake, BC, and is a member of the Stellatan First Nation. And she's one of the leads in the new Hallmark movie, 5 Star Christmas. She spoke to CBC's Stephen Quinn about her role.
The character that I'm playing, actually, she's awesome. It was such a cool part to land. Her name's Suzanne Ralston. And originally, it wasn't like they didn't call for an Indigenous character. But Chrissy Will Wolf, who directed the film, she came up to me on the first day and was like, hey, like, I know you're Indigenous. Like, how do you want to incorporate this into your character? And I literally was like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. Are you sure? Like, how can we do this? And she's like, absolutely. Like, I think it's so cool, and I think that you should be representing. And I just really have to acknowledge her for that. And so we kind of put our hats on, and it happened. So I'm really thankful to Hallmark because it's got a huge viewership, and yeah, I'm just so stoked. I think it's going to be great.
In the end, they decided to express her indigeneity through fashion.
She's actually a beauty blogger. And so I was like, how can I make this work? And I started to go through all of my jewelry. And there's actually some amazing traditional earrings from like the Burns Lake and Prince George area that they allowed me to wear, and also my own mukleks with traditional beading. So it was a lot through fashion, which I think is really cool because, you know, I really think that Indigenous people need to be represented on screen and just being allowed to play these characters, you know, instead of being depicted maybe in a negative light. Yeah, it's one of those things that was kind of unprecedented. So I'm just so excited.
Barbara Patrick is from the Stellatan First Nation and is the first Indigenous woman to star in a Hallmark Christmas movie. Check your listings if you want to catch her in 5 Star Christmas. Janice Wabi's house on Temiskaming First Nation is a spectacle. On display is a 3.5-meter-tall dream catcher made using an old trampoline frame lit with more than 900 Christmas lights. Wabi tells us how the idea came to be and how she became the dream catcher girl in her community.
A few years back, my uncle actually called me up and asked if I would be interested in going over to his place to make a huge dream catcher out of a trampoline frame that he had in the yard. And I was like, well, yeah, I've been doing dream catchers forever. So I thought I'll just go over and see what he has in mind, like what kind of materials he has, like what kind of rope or twine or what we're going to use. And sure enough, I just kept rolling it up on my arms and going around and doing the web. And then he told me he was thinking of putting lights on it for Christmas. And I said, okay, well, maybe I have to rethink how I'm going to do the web, because if it's too close together, it won't look very nice with lights. It'll be too bunched. So I redid it, but then he puts the lights on before it gets cold out, and then it's ready to go. So since I've done these dream catchers, I've had many people calling me, messaging me. They want me to make these and sell them. And I'm like, how am I going to ship these things? Even like the people driving by my aunt's place, because she's on the highway, so more people see hers. I have like so many people stopping outside my house. I don't know, taking pictures maybe, or just to sit there and watch it, because I'm amazed at how beautiful it is in person. Like I can stand out there and watch it. Like I can see it from my bedroom window. So it's like, wow. And then when I connect it to my music, it's a whole other thing. It's really nice. After making these dream catchers and seeing how much attention it's been getting, I didn't realize it would be this big. I didn't think I would be seeing people in random stores coming up to me, asking me if I'm the girl that makes the dream catchers. It's amazing. And I've always been like interested in my culture and wanting to learn more. And I've always tried to put it into my work that I do. I work for Brighter Futures, which is like a family and young children programming on my community. So I'm always trying to find ways to bring the culture into that. And with my family as well, with my daughters, like this coming weekend, we're going to make gingerbread houses, but we're going to make teepees out of them. So we're going to make our own cookies and shape them, and just to like always have that where we came from and to pass it on to the younger ones and talk about the meanings of these things, because not everyone knows what dream catchers are for. So it's a good way to start talking about it. So I'm hoping that when people see these dream catchers, that they just admire them like I do. I'm amazed at how beautiful they are, and I hope that it helps them to understand the importance of dreaming. So when people see the dream catchers, I'm just hoping that they are happy. I don't know, I hope it just makes them happy. That's really all. Like, there's so much bad things that happen this year. It's been hard on so many people. Maybe we need more positivity, more lights, more something to smile about, and just enjoy our holidays.
That was Janice Wabi talking about her giant dream catcher made from an old trampoline on Temiskaming First Nation. This is Unreserved on CBC Radio 1, Sirius XM 169 and Native Voice 1. I'm Phelan Johnson. Kaylee Anuksuk McKay and Tiffany Ayalik make up the band Pilsuk. The duo combines Katajak, also known as traditional Inuit throat singing, looping, and harmony to create something completely original. The sisters have roots in Nunavut and grew up in Yellowknife. Last year, they released a holiday album to address some of their complicated feelings around this time of year. That album, Kuviasuvik, In Search of Harmony, is a compilation of well-known holiday songs as well as original material. This year, they released a follow-up holiday single, and Pilsuk joins me from Vancouver to talk about it. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Phelan.
Hi.
So, I've never heard of a combination of Christmas music and throat singing like this before. So what made you want to try it?
Well, Christmas time has always been a really beautiful time when we were kids growing up in the north, and we spent lots of time in Nunavut, and Christmas games up in Nunavut is like a legendary experience. It's just a really beautiful time to celebrate right in the middle, in the depth of winter. And then when we got older, our relationship with, with Christmas, Christianity, learning about how we wanted to decolonize ourselves and still, have some sort of solstice type celebration, it all became very complicated.
So it's sort of a stitching together of all of those experiences, pain and joy, past and present and future hopes, to come and make our own family traditions and our own music.
So the album is the sonic exploration of all of those things. And we chose the title Kuviasuvik, In Search of Harmony, because it's a bit cheeky, because in Inuktitut, Kuviasuvik is the word that people use to explain Christmas. And it literally translates to something like happy time or the happy time. But I don't think you have to be Inuk or Indigenous to also feel like a lot of pain around Christmas, and that things are complicated, and there's lots of heartache and sorrow and grief and missing people who aren't there, or maybe who have moved on, or things are complicated and there's lots of pain. So I think Inuit get it. We have to explain it to others.
So I know that throat singing was banned in many communities. So did combining these traditions give you a different perspective on those complicated feelings that you have around this time of year?
Yeah, so we grew up singing choral music. We grew up singing hymns And so one of the strange things that happens as you age is you start to understand meanings and you start to question them. And so when we started to become adults and started to really question religion, our country, our policies, our history, it became harder to sing in our conscience, right? So do we completely abandon things that we love, or do we find ways to reinvent them? And so I think what we landed on was, in our healing journey, we wanted to be able to embrace Christmas and music in a way that felt right and felt aligned with our experiences.
We can't do a Christmas carol kind of without being political. And so tying in katajak in with the choral music is our way of putting two things that historically were at odds, and the searching for harmony to try and see how these things can coexist. And maybe there's no right answer. We're very happy and comfortable to sit in the awkwardness and sit in the uncomfort. And we don't feel the need to make everything sound absolutely perfect all the time, but that there is a lot of learning that goes on in those uncomfortable moments, even sonically, to have some tension within the music. So, and it's all lyricless, so we have to all explore those feelings and those concepts without words. Mm-hmm. And
there's a freedom in that.
Yeah, there really is.
And so why did you want to follow up your holiday album? You know, you released this holiday album last year and you followed it up with a single this year. Why did you make that choice?
When we did the first album, the songs on it are Carol of the Bells, which is, you know, not necessarily a super religious one. And we just love how that one sounds. That's always been one of my favorites. And we did What Child Is This? And that's sort of our exploration of what the first Christmas might have been like for an Inuit child being taken away and going to residential school and experiencing Christmas, and, you know, hearing all about this sacred baby child who is exalted and held up on high and revered when the treatment of other children in your immediate circle would be so atrocious. I think a lot of religious music and texts, people don't read them or really like sit with them and like look and like engage with them. If you want to like dig deeper and engage with how the lyrics of something have inspired a lot of pain, or the legacy that you know, something like Christianity has done to Indigenous people, dig deeper. And we also encourage people to do that too. We can have many things can be true all at the same time.
Yeah, that's lovely. And, you know, going back to Coventry Carol, it's a 16th century English song. I did a bit of looking into it, and yes, I was kind of shocked by just how you know, how dark it was, because what it's about is about the birth of Jesus and King Herod's order to slay children, and it was also known as the Massacre of the Innocents. So it is very dark material. And so, you know, was your choice to choose that piece deliberate in terms of content, or was it more of a choice in terms of melody?
I think it's a bit of both. The melody really sticks with us and is kind of haunting. And then, you know, this is a lullaby type song that was used in the sort of nativity cycle plays in the 16th century. And then also it just so happens to be very, very dark. And I think that it's a bit of both, that we decided, okay, there's something cool to explore here. There's something that there's an uncomfort that we can sit in here. And we grew up in the church too. So this is a consistent thread with us, that the legacy of these things runs deep and wide and complicated and then surprising in some ways. And there was some things about being in that community that I liked, and then there were some things that were truly, truly awful. And that's a lot of life too, is like everything is very colored and nuanced and complex, and we can't deny those things. And we totally can, and we do. But should we?
So what has the response been to your holiday throat singing hybrid?
Kuvia Silvik had more play and was so graciously accepted in ways that just absolutely shocked us. Our tiny little EP, you know, had international acclaim, and we had an overwhelmingly positive response to it. And it just really hit home how much we have in common, you know, across cultures, across continents, and the beauty and the pain in the human experience is not limited to you in your corner of the world. And I think that the complexity and themes of joy and pain and how layered it can be is something that folks recognize worldwide. And so it ended up being something to connect over. And I think especially at Christmas, when the expectation is happiness and joy, and what ends up happening is it's never as great as you hoped. And so all of those things all rolled together, I think a lot of people identified with. And so we felt really strongly about releasing a single, even though we're really busy this year, to sort of continue, during this time that's been very, very difficult for so many people with being in isolation and being having your normal routines disrupted, all the more so at Christmas, to just remind everyone that we are finding different ways to be together, and we are finding different ways to do things, and we are adaptable, we are resourceful, and we really are in it together.
So this year is different, obviously, you're celebrating the holidays, but I'm wondering, does your family have any unique holiday traditions? And, if you do, how will you be taking part in those this year?
For sure, food, as much as we can, being together. Food is such a comfort right now, and we're taking great joy and pleasure from just the delights of food wherever we can find them. And, being out in nature is an important part of our, celebrations wherever we can. And just,
food, song, and games.
And we love to light the pudlik. We love to light the lamp, and just, it's around solstice, it's the darkest night. And then things are going to pick up, light wise, and the days are going to get longer, and the weather's going to change, and the sun will come out, and, just marking those things together, I think.
Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thanks so much,
Thank you for having us.
Back in the 1970s, Lloyd Gwynn was a volunteer firefighter in High Level, a community in northern Alberta. The fire department needed someone to spread a little holiday cheer, the only way a northern community knows how.
They wanted someone to be a Santa and ride around on the back of a skidoo and go around to all the families of the members and drop off some gifts for the kids. So I volunteered for that, and it was a blast.
That was Gwynn's first taste of being Santa Claus. Since then, he has worn the red and white outfit a few times, but in his own way, as Métis Santa. Instead of a belt, he wears a sash, and instead of gloves and boots, he wears beaded mittens and mucklucks. No one can sit on his lap and ask for presents this year, but the Métis Nation of Alberta asked Gwynn to don his apparel for a video series. He reads from a book called Métis Christmas Mittens by Leah Marie Dorian. Gwynn says it's important to reach out to young Métis kids and remind them of their traditions and history.
It's very important to me because oftentimes we get blended in with the rest of society, which is most Métis are part of the general population and just sort of blend in there. But in the process, some of the traditions and the culture gets washed away. So what the Métis Nation are trying to do is to pass that knowledge on to the youth.
The Métis Nation of Alberta plans to release the video of Gwynn reading. It will be part of a week of festive videos to mark the holidays. Next year, Gwynn hopes to read Métis Christmas Mittens to kids in person when it's safer to do so. Thanks to Edmonton AM for sharing that story with us. There's a new holiday album out with songs you definitely know, but you may not recognize the language they are sung in. Musician Carson Gray recently released an EP of Christmas songs sung in Haida, called Haida Christmas. She joins me from Skidegate, British Columbia. Welcome to the show, Carson.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
So it's interesting to listen to your album because I definitely recognize the songs like Silent Night and Little Drummer Boy. But how did this album come to be?
Well, it actually was my mother's idea. She is a Christmas fanatic or freak. She loves Christmas. Christmas is a very loved holiday, of course, but I think especially in our community, it's very loved. Just have very fond memories of wonderful Christmas dinners and community gatherings and whatnot. So she said, you know what, Carson, I have a really good idea. It just came to me one day. I think that you should do a Haida Christmas album. I haven't heard of anyone doing this before? And I think it would be wonderful. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to do that. She told me this probably in the middle of the year, and I was kind of worried that I wouldn't have enough time to complete the project. It was supposed to be a full-length album, but just with everything going on, and I also was dealing with a move. My husband and we just moved into a new house a few months ago and wasn't able to complete the project, get the album to be as long as I was hoping for, but we got the 4 songs, and then we decided to say volume 1 so people know that there are more tunes on the way.
Oh, that's nice. Things to look forward to.
Yes.
So what's holiday season like in Skidegate?
Lots of family gatherings and get-togethers. There's usually a community Christmas concert. All the elders like to attend, and lots of the youth, and a lot of the kids will usually put on a show. The local choir will sing. There'll be different performances, and that's actually where I got my start singing in this community, was at the Christmas concert. I sang by Boney M, Mary's Boy Child. Have you guys heard of that? I think it's a pretty popular classic. My mom had me sing that when I was 8 years old.
Oh my God, I would love to see footage of that.
I know. Oh my gosh, I should see if there's footage. I remember people were recording, with their hand cams back in the day.
Classic footage. So on Unreserved, we've looked at attempts to revitalize the Haida language because there are very few fluent speakers. And I hear that you got help from the Skidegate Haida Immersion program on how to pronounce words. So how did that collaboration come to be?
Well, when my mom gave me the idea, we were like, well, how are we going to do this? And we're like, well, SHIP, of course. They're the experts, and they've been working on different projects like this and language revitalization for quite some time now. They even provided village members with a very thick book. It's the Haida Dictionary. But I got in contact with the manager at SHIP, Kevin Borzario, and I explained to him the project, and he was super excited about it. We scheduled a date to meet in person with all the elders and discuss the different songs we wanted to do and put together a nice list and which ones they had translated, which ones they didn't, which songs needed more work. But they actually had quite a bit of the songs that I wanted already translated because Christmas is such a love time for the elders, especially in this community. And then we move forward. They provided me a few audio, just sort of explaining how the pronunciation goes, and they gave me a couple CDs to listen to, and they provided me with some lyrics. And then I also worked with, her name is Mel Gravel. She goes by Daljad. She sent me some more voice clips just in more detail, each line very slowly how to pronounce. So I'm very grateful for her and her help. And
so does it feel nice for you to be a part of sort of, keeping the language alive in this way?
Yes, absolutely. There's only a very small number of people that are still fluent in this community. So it's great to see that because of what SHIP's done, a lot of our youth, like younger people and young children, are really passionate about wanting to become fluent speakers and just keeping our language and culture alive. It's great to see and wonderful to be a part of that.
So what was the most difficult song to sing?
I think it was Silent Night, because in the English language, a sentence might be quite short, but then in the Haida, it goes on for quite some time. So the trickiest part was just getting all those syllables to fit and flow nicely with the melodies. That was quite difficult. So in Silent Night, I think there's a few lines that are actually sung in English, because when I tried to sing them in Haida, it was just sounding a little bit too rushed and just crushed together is the only way I can really explain it. So we said, why don't we just do a few of the lines in English? That way, if anyone's listening and they're not quite sure, like they hear the melody, but the song is not coming to them, then they'll oh, that's what it is, if they catch a little bit of English.
And so how are people reacting to the songs?
They are loving them. It is so heartwarming and just great. All the emails I've been receiving, just people that have heard the songs. Really, it's a great feeling to know that these songs are touching their heart. And I had a few comments on Little Drummer Boy, and they said, I felt so relaxed when I heard that song too. And this album has really seemed to touch people. So it's a great feeling.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
That's it for this week's episode of Unreserved. If you want to get in touch with us to tell us about your holiday traditions, send an email to unreserved@cbc.ca or you can find us on Facebook or Twitter. This episode was produced by Stephanie Cram, Kyle Musica, Zoe Tennant, and Anna Lazowski. I'm Phelan Johnson. Now go for listening.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.